Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching, listening from. I'm so glad to see you. Happy New Year again. Missed you last week, but I just ran out of juice. I just had so much to do. I was doing so much content. I said, well, let me put all my energy in this conversation we're going to have today, which is so critical. And it's about renovating, reinventing, or redoing your life, whatever it is, wherever you are in whatever phase of your life. Hello there. I want to say hi to everyone on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Dr. Pierre. Good morning to you. Thanks for coming in. And I know you were wondering where I was last week, and that was it. I mean, I had been traveling, so many wonderful things have been happening. I've been helping so many leaders and entrepreneurs and executives. This being the beginning of the year, people want to get a great start, a fresh start in 2025. And so, hey, so I decided to put all my energy in what we're going to talk about today. Hello, TikTok and Valerie and Nigist and Laura and Faith and Patty and Freddie. I want to ask you about that question. Is it too late? Do you think it might be too late in terms of your career? Does it ever wander around your head? Do you feel it's too late for you? Too late to reinvent, pivot, or finally put yourself first? That fear of, well, maybe I've missed my chance, or maybe it is too late, keeps too many brilliant professionals stuck. So if you've ever felt that way, trust me, I get it. And more importantly, I know how to break free from it. Now, I nearly let those myths stop me too. I was in my 60s and I was really standing at a crossroads. I was leaving my nonprofit career to start my own business. And you want to talk about myths and things that were nagging at me and were jumping all over. It felt terrifying. What if I failed? What if I was too old? But here's what I learned: reinvention doesn't have an expiration date. You got that? We can reinvent at any time. It doesn't have a date that says it's expired. And I'm living proof. I've spent decades leading organizations, raising over $100 million for causes. And now I help executives and nonprofit leaders over 50 build their next chapter without wasting years stuck in self doubt. And so here's what I realized. Most advice on reinvention is vague. Just follow your passion or believe in yourself. Well, that's not enough. You need a real plan. And that's why I created a 4-step framework to help midlife professionals reinvent with clarity and confidence and a roadmap for action. It's the exact method I use to transform my own life. And, I did a video on that a couple of weeks ago, reinventing life at 50. It making easy. And I shared all my secrets. So go check it out. I delved real deep in that framework, that proven framework that works. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about this. You have now 30 to 40, even 50 more years ahead of you. So, why would you want to spend another year feeling stuck, doubting yourself, instead of designing a future you actually love? The second half of life isn't about slowing down, it's about gearing up, getting up for your most fulfilling chapter ever. And this number one myth keeping people over 50 stuck in the belief that it's too late is that this myth about it's too late. But let me tell you something. I've worked with executives and leaders in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s who have completely transformed their careers, their lives, and have done things differently, pursued their passions, did things that they've always dreamed about, moved up, did things different in their career, traveled, just transformed their lives. Now, before you say, well, Dr. Geneva, that's great for them, but what about me? Well, I want you to stick with me because I'm about to show you how you can do it too. Now, here's the thing. Before you can take action, before you can create real change, you have to first change the way you see what's possible for you. Because no matter how much you want something different, if you still holding on to them same old stories, you know what I'm talking about. Put a yes in the chat if you really know what I'm talking about. Them old stories, the ones that say it's too late, I'm too old, I've missed my chance. If you still hold on to those stories you tell yourself, taking that next step will always feel impossible. These limiting beliefs, those myths, keep us stuck, second guessing, and waiting for the right time. That's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today. And that's why I think it's so important, because once you recognize these myths for what they are, you can stop letting them hold you back. And that's when everything starts to change. Uh-huh. So let's break them down, because once you see them for what they really are, you'll never let them hold you back again. That's right. So the first myth: my best professional years are behind me. Now, listen, you've built an incredible career. You've led teams, you've raised families, you've created impact. But now it might feel like the world is slowly shutting the door on you because you're in your midlife, you're over 50. Maybe you've caught yourself thinking, my best years are behind me. And that thought, it's exhausting, frustrating. But here's the truth about that thought: it's a lie. Leadership isn't a young person's game, it's an experience game. And guess what? Experience, if you in your midlife, is something you have in abundance. Research proves it. The older you get, the better you lead. There was one study that I read that actually said that leadership effectiveness, what you can do, the impact that you have, actually increases with age because you're seasoned. You bring something to the table that younger folk can't, and that's wisdom, perspective, and the ability to navigate complex challenges because you didn't been through it. You've done it. And it also, we know that as you age, your management style actually gets better because we feel more empowered, and we've had that experience. And yeah, we place a higher value on mentoring and setting, and driving more impact. And that makes us better in what we do. So let's get real. The idea that your best years are behind you, that's just not wrong. It's false. And the research shows us that your experience isn't a weight holding you back. It's the very thing that can make you unstoppable. So, hear me now. The real question isn't, am I too old? The real question is, what incredible impact are you about to make next? Why not you? Okay. So here's some things you can do. You can start mentoring younger professionals because you've got the wisdom. Take that in there as a value, as gold, as a gem. Document your biggest leadership lessons. You've you've had them, you've experienced them. Write them down. Don't keep them up in your head or every once in a while think about them. Document them. Write them down. Use your experience as your superpower instead of thinking about it as baggage. Another myth that it's too risky to make change now. Well, you've worked too hard to throw it all away. That's what you fear. That's what you're fearing. That's it, isn't it? You've worked too hard to do it. And making a big change now feels like standing at the edge of a cliff looking down, wondering, what if I fall? But what if instead of falling, you soar? Again, shifting that mindset, reframe it, the stories we tell ourselves. And here's the thing, your years of experience actually make you better equipped to assess and take smart risks than ever before. I read a Forbes article recently that said that professionals over 50 who pivot careers often end up more fulfilled and financially successful. I know that happened with me, and there are many, many other examples of that. So, this myth about it might be too risky to make a change now, bust that myth, put it out of your mind, reframe what you're thinking. Here's what you can do. If you want to explore the change without any kind of change, without a full risk, start small. That's all you have to do. Set aside an hour a day to work on your new direction. Just take a small bite of it. And then you can also build a 6-month financial buffer. So you can start planning now and start saving and put aside some money so that, it's a good thing to do anyway, so that you have this 6-month cushion if you wanted to jump out there and start a new business or do something. And then, talk with people who've done it. Have coffee or tea or meet for lunch, virtual chat with people you know and admire and respect who've done this before. You can get so much great advice to bust that myth that it's too risky. Another myth that I want you to think about and then reframe it, bust it, get it out of there. It's that you've invested too much in your current stuff to change. Well, I know how it is. You've poured decades into your career. I know I spent 4 decades in my career before I made a major shift. I know the reputation, the relationships, the hard expertise, the hard earned, what you've earned, their expertise that you've earned. Oh my goodness, it feels impossible to walk away from all that. But what if your past experience, really isn't a weight holding you back, but really a launch pad for your next chapter? Because studies show that a lot of folk, 82% of those people who change careers over 45, most times succeed in their roles. Okay? So that, this investment that you've made in those years and years of being in your current thing, that that could really be a plus and the motivator and the launch pad for you to reinvent yourself, to move to something different. So bust that myth. List out your transferable skills. That's what you can do to reduce, eliminate this myth, because you've got them. You have those skills that you've earned and you've learned and you've experienced. You could also interview 3 people who successfully pivoted and find out what they've done and what they've learned. You could also ask these 3 people, what do they think about you and your idea about pivoting or taking in the next step or whatever reinvention that you're thinking about. This can give you so many great ideas. I want you to also start crafting a a resume, a document that's considered to be your portfolio about your career, that combines what you already know with potential new opportunities, so that as you think about your career, that you bring in everything that you've learned, but then you also think about the new things that you can move into, so that the myth that says I've invested too much in what I'm doing now to change, reframe that and deal with it as, yeah, I've invested a lot and I can use that to launch into something different, launch into my dream, write that book, start that business. Okay. All right. Now, this myth that I want to talk about now is one of the biggies, and that is I'm too old to start something new. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's what I got an awful lot of when in my 60s, and it was my late 60s. I decided to leave a 4-decade career in nonprofits, leading nonprofit organizations, community leader, raising lots of money for good causes, and step into what was a lifelong dream for me of having my own business, being an entrepreneur, going to a place where I could reach more high achievers, experienced executives and leaders, to help them navigate midlife reinvention and planning their next. And that's what I wanted. This was my big dream. And I got from a number of people, you too old to start something new. Why don't you go sit down? What about retirement? I mean, I got all those kinds of things. And, part of it, I think, is because we live in a world obsessed with youth. And people and society love to tell us that reinvention is for the young. that if you haven't done it by now, you never will. But let me tell you, here's what we know. It particularly in terms of entrepreneurship, the most successful entrepreneurs, the average age is 45, and 50-year olders are nearly twice as likely to succeed in their businesses as 30-year olders. Listen, and I found that out myself. Your best years aren't behind you, they're ahead. They're right there in front of you. And so, busting this myth about it's too late for me to start now, that's one of the biggest. I want you to change your mind about that so you can step out there. And how you can do it, start learning a new skill this month. Just pick out a skill that you need to learn to take you to your next whatever. One skill this month, learn it. Join a professional group that relates to where you want to go. Shadow someone in your desired field, follow them. You know, be like an intern, learn from them. Give yourself permission to be a beginner again. It's all right. It works. Now, here's the thing, until you change the way you see what's possible for you, taking action will always feel, out of reach somewhere. That's why breaking free from these myths that I talked about isn't just a mindset shift. It really is the first step towards building a future, seeing your dream, building a future that excites you. Because once you stop believing these old limiting stories you be telling yourself, you give yourself permission to create a new story because you're the author of your story. In fact, you're the only author of your own story. And when you do that, that's when change begins. That's when everything starts to change. So now that you got the truth, it's not too late. Your experience is an asset. But here's the deal. Knowing isn't just enough. The real challenge is following through and building that plan that you'll actually stick to. And if any of you want to do that, I've created a one-to-one coaching program. In just 30 days. We can map out your 2025 action plan so you don't have to spend another year stuck in self-doubt, wondering, what if? So, you can figure this out alone, or you can let me guide you through a process that works. I'd love to do that. That helps take out the guesswork and gives you some real accountability. Or you can keep waiting and wondering, what if? Or in just 30 days, you can have a clear 2025 roadmap, real accountability and momentum. And if you're interested in any of that, DM me next chapter. You could say the words, put that in the comments, connect with me. I'm on all social media at Dr. Geneva Speaks. I'd love to do that. And what I want you to know is that what I've shared with you um, in this conversation took me years to fully believe. And 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 whether you're going to take action today in your next step or not, I really need you to hear this. I used to believe my best personal years were behind me, and after the decades, like I said, I thought I that was my peak, my past career. But guess what? My most fulfilling, exciting, impactful work, what I feel vibrantly now, didn't happen in my 40s, even in my 50s. It started in my 60s when I made the decision to go ahead and step out there and build something new. Maybe you've been feeling that same way too. And if you have, like, the best part of your career is already behind you, your life. But let me tell you, your experience is your best advantage, and it doesn't have an expiration date. And yeah, I was scared. I remember it so well. I told myself that making a change at this stage of my life was too risky. But then I realized that, well, what if I didn't do it? And that real risk was more about not stepping forward. If I wanted to did I want to leave this life and not really do what turned me on, I had dreams about, and always be wondering what if for the rest of my life? You don't have to stay stuck either. Playing it safe, I know feels comfortable, but you know where growth happens. It's when you step outside of that comfort zone and ask yourself today, try to think about 5 years from now and where you want to be. And I had spent decades in my own, investing in my own career and all that, and almost believed that lie that I had too much to lose to step out into something new. It's just not true. And you don't have to throw away your past to create your future. You get to build on it. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned. I didn't have to start from scratch, that I can, do it. And that idea or fear, myth that I was too old to start something new, I went ahead and did it scared as it was, and went ahead and proved everybody wrong. Okay. And that's when I stepped into reinvention and I realized again, I wasn't starting over, I was starting from wisdom. You have that same wisdom. The only question is what you're going to do with it. So if you've been telling yourself it's too late, I want you to hear this. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are standing at the perfect moment to create what's next. So, go on and step into that next chapter. Plan what's next. I'm here to help you because right now is the best time to start. And so I hope you found value in this conversation. If you did, let me know. Give me a like, give me a comment, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. But more than anything, I want you to know that today you can do it. The best time to start is right now. So go out there and do your next. Mwah. Love you all. And I will see you soon. I'll see you next week. Bye.